Hello YouTube, welcome to another guide. In today's guide, we are going to cover mid lane Xerath.
I will be free.
Today's guide was requested by Xerath, and sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Paulius originally asked just for a Xerath guide, and after talking for a while, he actually provided a lot of the information that's in this guide, so thanks to them for that. So all of the pros here basically have to do with our long range, high burst, and strong lane phase. Our abilities have very long range, do high damage, and most of them do AoE. We're pretty much able to shove waves under towers over and over again, while also poking the enemy champion. Then, as long as we're landing our full combo, we have very high burst potential. With a solid build, we can pretty much 100 to 0 very squishy targets. Generally, champions that are pretty strong in the early game start to fall off late game, but not us. We start pretty strong, and we remain strong as the game progresses. This sounds great and all, but we still have a bunch of cons. Our lack of mobility is by far our biggest con. Assassin champions like Zed, Fizz, and LeBlanc can really give us a hard time in lane. They have abilities that can dodge our skill shots, and they're able to put out an insane amount of damage and usually finish us off. We are then awfully skill shot reliant. If we're not landing our skill shots, we're in for a pretty rough game, especially if we can't land our stun. Last, he is very hard to master. To master this champion, you have to have a very strong sense of positioning and need to land your skill shots. This makes him one of the harder mid laners to play effectively, but when you do, he can become a beast. Xerath has two very solid mastery pages. The first one, of course, for a mage that can combo really efficiently, would be the Thunderlord's Decree. This is a great rune page for those Xeraths that can land their combo over and over again, just to have a nice little chunk of burst in that combo. This can sometimes be the difference whether a target dies or lives. Then there is the Deathfire Touch Mastery page. This is another great mastery page on Xerath just to add a little bit of extra damage onto your poke. This is just like how Pantheon has two different mastery pages. If he wants to add some extra damage onto his spears, he can go for this, or if he wants to combo, get the Thunderlord's Decree. I'd recommend the Deathfire Touch Mastery page when you are against champions who can't really sustain your poke. This will just make them have to leave the lane a little bit earlier than usual, whereas the Thunderlords, obviously, you can combo them down, having better burst. For our runes, we take 9 Magic Penetration Reds, 9 Scaling Health Yellows, 6 Scaling Cooldown Reduction Blues, and 3 Magic Resist Blues, and 3 Ability Power Quints. In our item build, we're usually going to end up with 30% CDR, from the 20 from the Morellos and 10 from the Zonias. These 6 scaling cooldown reductions will give that extra 10% at level 18, giving us that nice 40%. We then finish off the blues by getting that magic resist, and we want to remain at least a little tanky as well, so we get the scaling health yellows. Then to make our poke annoying as shit, we have the ability power quints and the magic penetration reds. Just an amazing rune page. For our summoners, the only thing we always take is flash, and it's basically because we're insanely immobile, and this can save us over and over again. As for the secondary summoner, there is a lot of options. My personal favorite, as well as Paulius's, is Heal. This is a great defensive summoner in case somebody does get on top of us, and the movement speed from it as well can save us in a lot of situations. Since we're rather immobile, Teleport is also an excellent summoner if we are looking to gank. If we're against a mid laner like Katarina who likes to roam around a lot, Teleport could make you get to those lanes fast and actually help out your team. If we're then in a situation where you'd like some added kill pressure, Ignite's a great pickup as well. Since we are a really long range mage, I don't take it too much, but it is a viable option. So then there is Exhaust, just a great summoner against those assassin champions to stop large portions of their damage. Usually if you are against stuff like Talon and Zed, you will want to take Exhaust. However, Barrier is a great pickup against those champions as well. When there's very predictable burst coming in, Barrier is a great pickup as it stops the most amount of damage for a summoner. Then if you are really worried about your mobility in the game, you can always take Ghost, another fantastic summoner on Xerath. This can make your lane a lot safer since you will have 2 ways to escape and can add some nice mobility in teamfights so you can position properly. Now finally we arrive at the last one, Cleanse. This is a fantastic pickup against stuff with a targetable stun like Twisted Fate. One yellow card from Twisted Fate can often be enough time for us to die, especially if there's another enemy champion around. As Xerath, it's very important to make sure you pick your summoner based on the enemy team. Don't default to one combination. So now we're going to look at each of our abilities, starting with the passive, Mana Surge. So basically every 12 seconds, we get mana back on every auto attack, and it's doubled against enemy champions. This means, of course, we're going to want to try to keep track of when we have this, so we make sure we hit an enemy champion during that instead of a minion. Obviously, it's not the end of the world, and don't put yourself in a bad position if you have to last hit or something. It is only double the mana, but still, whenever you can get double the mana, it's a nice thing to have. This is pretty much just a nice way of adding a little bit of extra mana into our pool, as we're usually spamming abilities often, trying to harass the enemy champion and clear minion waves. Now for our Q, Arcano Pulse. This is our main ability and the one that we max first, as it's great for poking and clearing minion waves. This is a long range ability that gets even longer as we hold it. However, when we are holding this for the increased range, we do lose movement speed, so you kind of have to time it so you have enough range to hit the enemy champion, and not wait too long at the same time so we can easily walk out since you are slowed. When you let go of the ability, you shoot out a beam, doing a bunch of magic damage to those enemies hit. This only has a 5-second cooldown at max rank and can have up to a 1400 range. So due to that low cooldown, the long range, and the high AoE damage, we of course, like I said before, max this one first. It is our main ability. Next up is our W, Eye of Destruction. This is that little circular zone that drops down after half a second and does AoE damage. They take some damage and are slowed, but if they are in the center, they take even more. The damage is increased by 50%, and the enhanced slow goes up to 80% at max rank, which is a hell of a lot more than 10%. This of course means you are trying to hit people in the center of this skill. This will take some getting used to. This yet again has a really nice range of 1100 and a little 200 AoE circle. This is yet again a really nice AoE long range skill, so we max it second right behind our Q. Our last basic ability is our E, Shocking Orb. This is yet again a skill shot which stuns people between 0.5 and 2 seconds based on the distance the orb traveled. The damage is then very mediocre between 80 and 200 base with only a 45% AP ratio. This is also our only skill which doesn't do AoE damage, and the cooldown barely changes as we level it, so we max this thing last. 1 point early on will suffice for this skill, as we will at least have a stun. You also have to keep in mind that this skill is only the first enemy hit, so it's rather hard to land in the lane phase. Minions are a bitch. Last but certainly not least is our ultimate, Rite of the Arcane. Xerath fires between 3 and 5 skill shots based on the level of the skill. It has an insanely long range, and you only have to roam partway up or down river to help that lane. Level 16 Xerath's ultimate is extremely dangerous. Every single barrage deals 260 base damage, which means its base is 1300 if you do land all 5. The range is then 6160, meaning you can do it from a very long distance away. People won't even be able to see you. If you can land all 5, it's then basically got a 215% AP ratio. GG, get wrecked. This also gets cancelled if you are interrupted and whatnot by the enemies, but with its really long range, as long as you have any sense of positioning, that won't usually be an issue. For our ability order, we of course start by maxing our ultimate first. We then move into our Q, Arcano Pulse, for its very nice AoE and poke. Next would be W, Eye of Destruction, yet again really nice range and some good AoE, but not as good as our Q. Last is our E, Shocking Orb. We only need 1 early point into it for the stun. Other than that, it's just a mediocre ability. Usually we grab 1 point in this at level 3, but that's not always what you want to do. It's very viable to put a second point into our Q, Arcano Pulse, at level 3 and leave our E, Shocking Orb, until level 4. Having that second point in our Q will make our wave clear and poke go way up, and if we're against a traditional mage, we should go for this. If we are, however, against an assassin who usually wants to try all-inning us early on, we do need the stun so we don't end up dying. Xerath's main combo is rather easy to do as long as you can land your stun. Very simply, open with your E, stun, and then follow up with a quick W and Q for high damage. If you did take Thunderlord's Decree as your keystone mastery, this will also instantly get procced. After this, you can then follow up with your ultimate if you wish, or auto attack until your cooldowns are back. You only have a 5-second cooldown on your Q, and this is without cooldown reduction. If you are having trouble landing your stun against very mobile champions, try and land your empowered slow first so you can go in for a stun afterwards. When a champion has 80% slow on them, it should be pretty easy to land your stun. In lane phase, we want to focus on harassing the enemy mid laner as much as possible to push them out of lane. However, don't miss last hits because of this. Last hits are by far the most important thing. Focus on that first, and then go for harass. This is relatively simple to do, as you can use your Q, Arcano Pulse, to poke the enemy from range and clear up minion waves. As soon as the enemy mid laner has to back, make sure you shove minions under their tower with your AoE so they miss a lot of XP and gold. Also, make sure you are warding around bushes and river since you are very gankable. As we've talked about, you have very low mobility, and if you get caught, you're pretty much dead. Despite his low mobility, he actually becomes rather hard to gank if he does see the enemy coming in, since he does have a relatively good stun, and can quickly follow up with a really strong slow. In teamfights, you'll want to try to poke down the enemy as much as possible before the fight even starts. Use your superior range and give your team an advantage right off the bat. Now if a fight does break out, make sure you position yourself in the back line. I'm going to preach this again, you have very bad mobility, and if you end up in the front line, we're usually going to end up dead real fucking quick. You'll then want to try to snipe the enemy backline if it's possible. Keep in mind your ultimate can get disrupted, so don't use it if you know you're going to get interrupted. So if you can't hit the backline, try to land a really nice slow on the enemy team's front line so you can help peel for your team. Finally, Xerath also fits really nice into siege comps. You can use your range to poke them down. Teams consisting of a lot of poke like Jace top, Xerath mid, and Nidalee jungle is really frustrating to face, and I hope you guys don't have to. So I'm sure you guys already have an idea after listening to this guide who is a counter for Xerath, but we're going to look at it anyways. So first up is Kennen, and he's actually our matchup with the lowest win rate. This is because he has the two things we're weak against, high mobility and quick damage combos. All you can really do in this matchup is try to poke him down as much as possible, and when he does go in for his combo, make sure you land your stun. Then there's Fizz, and it's pretty much the exact same reasons as Kennen. Tons of damage, mobility, and even the ability to dodge our skill shots. Yet again, make sure you're saving your stun in this matchup. If you waste it and he commits, you're probably dead. Now, other assassins like Zed, Ahri, and LeBlanc are all super hard for us to deal with as well. They will all use their superior mobility to get onto us and follow up with their really high damage. Yet again, you're going to have to play more passively and make sure you save your stun for when they try to combo you. Last up is our item build, which starts with a Doran's Ring, Health Potion, and Warding Totem. For our core build, we start with a Morello Nomicon as it gives us 20% CDR, Grievous Wounds, and a lot of other nice stats. Then of course we move into our Sork Boots for some nice mobility and some magic penetration as well. Then there is the Rabadon's Death Cap. I do take this as our fourth item, but it is considered core because I pretty much always take it. Of course we grab this item because it is the best AP item in the entire game. So for the item pool, my two favorites are the Luden's Echo and the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Luden's Echo is great if we are going for a high AP burst build, and Rylai's is great for that slow. It is very easy to combo if you are providing slows all over the place. Void Staff, obviously a great item as well, because getting through magic resist is rather important. Then of course there's Zhonya's. Basically it's just the best defensive AP item in the game, so, you know, we grab it all the time pretty much. Abyssal Scepter's then a great item as well. It gives us some nice ability power, but also gives us magic resist if we are against a high AP team. Against tanky teams, Liandry's is pretty nice as well for the burn it provides, and finally Guardian Angel, coming back to life is awesome, so it's in the item pool. So for our full builds here, you'll notice the only thing that really changes is the third item. To have high AP and some slows, put the Rylai's in there with the core, add the Void Staff to get through the MR, and the Zhonya's for the defensive. For higher AP burst, change that Rylai's into a Liandry's instead. If you were against a full AP team, which doesn't happen too much, instead get an Abyssal Scepter and add a Guardian Angel as the last item, as it gives more magic resist. So there you have it, that is our full Xerath guide. Thanks again to Paulius for all that awesome information you emailed me. Now if you guys did enjoy the guide, please make sure you like and subscribe as well, as we have tons and tons of League of Legends content to come out in the near future. Also, please make sure you visit our Twitter at egaming_TV. We do skin giveaways on there at the end of every month, so if you're interested in those, please make sure you follow. Other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace!
Yeah!